Hey y'all, so it's Ashley Bookish from. I am back with another video, and today I am going to be reacting to 1-star reviews of some of my 2020 favorites. And I'm actually nervous about this because I have a mouth. I have a mouth problem. My mouth is out of control. So this is going to be interesting. This is not something that's new. What prompted doing this video is that for my Patreon, everyone at the, I believe, library page tier and higher has the opportunity to vote on our group pick for the month with the group pick read, and then also what video you would like to see me do for the month. And this month's pick was reading or reacting to 1-star reviews of my favorite books. And I decided to go with 2020 because coming up with a list of my favorites overall was just, it was a mess. So I am going to focus on probably 3 to 4 books, and I'm going to read probably anywhere in between 2 to 3 reviews of the books. I of course won't leave any identifiers, and I'm going to try to keep this as clean as possible, so bear with me. Okay, so the first one that we're going to be doing is A Long Way Down by Jason Reynolds. As you all know, Jason Reynolds is a favorite of mine. I've been trying to make it through his backlist, and I have not read anything by him recently, but I've read like 3 or 4 books by him already this year, and one of my favorite ones that I read this year was Long Way Down. Now, Long Way Down is written in free verse. It is about a young boy who is essentially debating whether he's going to avenge the death of his brother, and it is a very complex story. It talks a lot about the cycle of violence and how a lot of kids and teens are entered into the cycle of violence and how that affects their life, and it really speaks heavily to not being judgmental of people who end up in these circumstances, because a lot of it is coming from generational issues that have been passed on. So this book is actually really short. If you listen to an audio, it isn't more than an hour and a half long. Jason Reynolds reads it, and it's fantastic. One of my favorites of the year. So here we go. We're gonna go to the 1-star reads, or 1-star rating. What did I just read? I gave this a chance because all of the hype and the award and everything, but in my opinion, this book was so bad. I get it was trying to make a point and everything, but it didn't do it. What point didn't it make? At least not for me. The writing didn't feel good. What does it mean when writing doesn't feel good? Like, did it feel choppy? Did it feel like abrupt? What does it mean when writing doesn't make you feel good? And the language made it even harder because I felt like it was a huge stereotype. Well, when a black person is writing a story about black people and 9 times out of 10 they're using AAVE, that is culturally significant to black people. We talk in AAVE when we're not around white people. So what you hear most black people talking in is not how we comfortably speak. This is how we speak in front of each other and people we're comfortable around. So yes, I didn't like it. I feel like wasted 90 minutes of my life. Well, this writing's not making me feel good either, considering that it is, ugh. And thank God it was a really fast read. Wow. See, here's my thing. I hate when people read books that are culturally significant to certain groups and it is a huge stereotype, or I don't get why it was written this way, or I don't understand the language. Like, you know, everything doesn't have to be written from the perspective of white people, and that's just not the way of the world. So when I see reviews like this, it makes me cringe because it's really not specific as to what was wrong with the book, except the writing didn't make me feel good. And at that point, I feel like you don't rate a book and you just say this book wasn't for me type of situation. But okay, let's look at another one. This is a good one. Parents, don't buy this book for your children. And I'm so glad that this video is going up because it is Banned Books Week. This is the type of bullshit that we see all the time. I mean, yes, the poetry format was a bit different from other books. Girl, what? But why is this a Newbery Honors book? It's too violent, has too vulgar language. Way too inappropriate for readers who normally read Newbery awarded books. Let me explain something to you. Newbery awards are usually given for children's books up to like middle grade. The William C. Morris Award, I believe, is more geared towards teen fiction. So this can definitely be appropriate for this age group because middle schoolers can read this. And I always find reviews like this super interesting because there are kids who actually experience this and go through these things. So because you're reviewing this from a point of privilege, maybe, check your privilege. That's why it seems grossly inappropriate, which the book is not grossly inappropriate. I always say when I think that things may be above the target audience. But this is definitely not grossly inappropriate. Yes, it does have language. Yes, there is violence because it's about the cycle of violence. I mean, duh. I stopped reading after a few pages of this sample ebook. You stopped reading after a few sample pages. You missed the whole point of this, the whole point of the book. And you're telling parents not to buy the book for their kids. Like, I don't condone that either way. I don't condone that at all. But the fact that you didn't even read the book. You didn't read the book. Like, have several seats. I can't stand people who like to make commentary to tell people not to read books when they've only read a couple of pages themselves. Like, what sense does that make? You don't even know the point of the story. You don't know how the story goes. You read the first couple of pages and you're telling parents, don't buy this. And this last line is a freaking kicker. This should be in the ALA Most Challenged Books list. Listen, common sense is not that common. This should be in the ALA Most Challenged Book list. The American Library Association does not challenge books. Ding, 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 bling, bling, bling. Stop talking out your ass. We don't challenge books, okay? What we do is compile a list of books that people like you try to challenge. So to put, this book should be in the ALA Most Challenged Book list. I don't get it. I don't, because clearly the whole concept of what ALA does went way like straight over your head, but okay. Okay, so the next book that we're going to go with is going to be The Deep, and I'm going to try to control my temper with Deep because I know that there are going to be reviews here, one-star reviews that are going to straight like just piss me off. So we're going to do The Deep. As you all know, I've talked about The Deep on this channel so much, so I'm not going to really delve into a synopsis. Hands down, one of the best books I have ever read in my life. Not just in 2020, but one of the best books that I've ever read in my life. I've talked about it. We've done a full live talking about The Deep. It is something that is just so important to my life, and I'm so glad that I was introduced to River Solomon, and it's just a phenomenal piece of literature. So we are going to delve into the one-star reviews. Okay, here's the first one. I picked this book as part of the Book Riot Read Harder Challenge. I really wanted to like this book, especially after so many great reviews and it showing up on so many great reads lists. Fair point. The story had a lot of promise, but I found it to be overly fluffed up. Nothing. Nothing about The Deep is fluffy. No, it is one of the most nuanced books that I've ever read. Nothing about it is fluffy at all. There was a lot of droning on that confused the story instead of giving you something to connect with. Here's the thing. Every book that you read is not written from your own personal experiences. And it's sometimes important to do background research and to read Own Voices reviews of books. This is why Own Voices reviews are so important, because you saying as a person that's not of color that you don't connect with a book because you don't understand it is problematic. And you're giving a book a 1-star review because you don't have any connections to it. You're not going to have any personal connections because it's nothing that you've ever experienced before. So with that being said, Honestly, I stopped reading this about 70% in because I just couldn't force myself to finish it. Well, I guess congrats to you for not having a completist attitude like me, but giving a book a 1-star review because you feel like there was nothing to connect with is slightly awkward. Not slightly, it's extremely awkward because maybe it wasn't meant for you to connect. It wasn't written for you, homie. It wasn't written for you. Like, I don't know what to tell you. It wasn't written for you. So, yeah. I had such high hopes for this book. This could have gone in so many different directions. It did. It could have utilized fiction in order to help the audience understand topics like intergenerational trauma, the African experience, the enslaved experience, race relations, or even feminism. I feel it did none of those things. What in the world? That's exactly what the book did. First of all, the African experience, no, you should never. For Africa is not a monolith at all. So even saying that it should have helped the audience understand the African experience, how do you write one book that's supposed to explain a continental experience when there are different nations in an entire continent that each have their own culture and traditions and experiences? So I wish people would stop looking at Africa as a monolith. It's not. Like, how pigeonholed of a perspective do you have to be like, I want to know about the African experience? Africa's a fucking continent, not a country. Our educational system just disappoints me every single day. No shade to our teachers, because we have some great teachers, but it's stuff like this where it's like, Africa's not a country. It's definitely a whole fucking continent. So now that my nerves have totally been shot, let's look at another book, which will be This Is My America by Kim Johnson. So this is another one of my favorites that I absolutely enjoyed and adored. And it is about a young girl who is attempting to get her father off of death row. And it looks at the complexity of the school prison pipeline system, mass incarceration, and how mass incarceration affects families. And really great debut novel. I mean, it was fantastic. I loved it. So the first one that pops up: get this out of my advertisements, this garbage. Well, I mean, you're on Goodreads. I don't know what you mean by get this out of your advertisements. This is garbage. Just like OJ was innocent. Get this garbage out of here. And this is additional comments that they added, so you probably won't see this on the screen. This trendy bullshit. Racist this and that. Shut the fuck up. Boo. Bitch, you probably like Twilight. How about that? Okay. And funny enough, that was like the only review. There were other 1-star ratings, but that was the only review that was up there. And that's because that one is fairly new and it doesn't have much reviews, but I think that was enough for just that one. And the last one that we're going to be looking at is Grown by Tiffany D. Jackson. This is one that I talk about a lot as well. And this, of course, is about a young girl by the name of Enchanted who ends up in a really horrible situation when she wants to become an R&B singer, and she links up with this guy named Corey. Corey is dead at the beginning of the book, so we're retracing our steps trying to figure out what exactly happened. While this is not directly inspired from the R. Kelly cases, although I'd swear it feels like it so much, it does just talk about power dynamics and the relationship that Black women and Black girls have with police when it comes to trauma and reporting trauma. Very interesting conversation. And whether people really care about Black girls and Black women, they don't, but hey. Okay, so we have exactly 2 1-star reviews on this one. For such an important subject, while discussing relevant issues, this novel should leave readers with powerful emotions and a different outlook on society. what outlook on society. But with this latest book by Tiffany D. Jackson, I was left confused and frustrated at how poorly executed this book was told. It had so much potential to be a strong book, but it became another YA novel floundering in the wind. Yikes. I don't even know what to say. I don't know what to say about this one because I think I understand where they're coming from. I don't necessarily agree, but I think they're looking at it from the perspective of the fact that this book is not a unique story 100%. It is a unique story, but in the sense that it gives so many vibes that is so closely related to the R. Kelly cases that aspects of it may not feel original. I don't agree because I definitely feel like this story is important to hear because people hear about R. Kelly in those situations, but people have forgotten like that. Like people, it's out of people's minds already. And I think what she was trying to do here is to say that situations like this happen all of the time and that it has a lot to do with how we treat Black women and Black girls, especially when it comes to trauma and protecting them and that they're not protected. I think that's the point that she was trying to make. But I also get, I mean, 1 star is a bit harsh because the book wasn't that bad. I mean, I loved it, but I don't think it's deserving of a 1-star review. But I understand that criticism and how the story may not feel original, which will come off as poor execution. Don't agree, but I see what this person was meaning. I have tried one other book from this author and I didn't care for it. Oh, okay. But I decided to go ahead and check this one out. I have to say that sadly this book felt like it was a little all over the place. The main character acts stupidly and immature. Wow, that's kind of a low blow considering that she's a teenager. Her frontal cortex is not fully developed. I don't know why we read YA books and expect 17-year-old kids to act like they're 30. It's not realistic. She's supposed to be 17 years old, babysitting her younger siblings, etc., but she acts like she's a 12-year-old little girl that knows nothing of the world. Well, she's 17. She probably doesn't know much of the world. She's only been on the world for 17 years, and most of those years were lots of development in which she probably does not even remember. And babysitting siblings doesn't make you grown. Yikes. And that's the whole point of the title. Grown. You think you're grown, but you're not grown. Okay. I grew up in a low-income family and still low income. I took care of other people's kids from age 11 to help out and pay bills. So you grow up a lot faster than normal. So I have a hard time believing how this story is told. Well, everybody doesn't have the same experiences. Your experience does not dictate how everybody else's life is going to go. Second of all, the story is fictional. Third of all, this is not about whether she was a mature kid or not. This is about the fact of people taking advantage of Black women and Black girls and no one giving a damn that they are. That's what this story is about. Overall, it felt badly put together and it just didn't work out at all. Okay, well, my thing about it is that that's not the purpose of the book. This book wasn't written for you to look at the fact that this is a teenage girl taking care of her siblings. Like, that's not what the story's about. The story is about thinking that you are grown when you're not grown, thinking you know the way of the world and you don't know the way of the world, and you don't listen, and unfortunately sometimes things go wrong. And then in situations with Black girls and Black women, when things go wrong, people don't want to listen. That's the intent of this book. Not looking at whether a 17-year-old is mature or not, which I wasn't mature at 17. I thought I knew it all at 17. I was grown at 17. I didn't know shit. So maybe we should stop reading YA books and thinking that we're going to get 17-year-olds that, like I said before, are going to act like they're 30, 40 years old. Stop looking for that in YA books. Read adult books. Stop doing that. I don't know why people do that. They go reading YA books and think, oh my gosh, this character is immature. Well, they're a teenager. They're still developing. Their frontal cortex is not developed yet. They are allowed not to make smart decisions. It was within their right. We all were teenagers at one point. Everybody was not perfect. No one was perfect as a teenager because we're not even perfect adults. So stop doing it. All right, y'all. So that is it. That is me reading 1-star reviews of some of my favorite books. And I am just completely like, what in the world? What in the world? Like, oh my goodness gracious. I see some 1-star reviews and it's kind of like, well, why did you rate it 1 star? Because there's no explanation. You just wanted to rate something 1 star? Like, okay, whatever makes you happy. They still cashing in checks though, so hey. All right, y'all, that is it. I hope I wasn't too snarky. Of course, all this is in fun. I really enjoyed it doing this. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more content from me, click the subscribe button. All of my social media and ways to support my channel will be down in the description box below. And I'll be back with another video soon.